I saw him before he saw me. The years hadn't been kind to him. His shoulders drooped. His hair was thinner. But that same quiet arrogance still clung to the way he held his coffee cup. For a moment, I couldn't move. My heart thudded painfully, the sound almost louder than the hum of that small-town cafe. There he was. The man who had ruined my family. And there I was, standing with my tray. One empty chair left beside him. I could have turned away. I could have walked right out. But instead, I took a breath and sat down. Before continue, please subscribe our channel and like our video. My name is Margaret Allen, though most folks just call me Maggie. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where people wave from their porches, and the church bells still mark the rhythm of our days. My husband, and I built a modest but happy life. He was a mechanic, steady, honest, with grease-stained hands that somehow always smelled like home. And me? I worked at the local library, a quiet little building filled with the smell of old paper and the soft shuffle of familiar footsteps. We weren't rich, but we were proud. We saved every spare dollar for our kids' future, our son and Ethan, and our daughter Lily. Then came Paul Simmons. Paul was charming, about Tom's age, owned a small investment company in town. He had a reputation for helping folks grow their savings. He attended our church, shook hands with everyone, spoke about trust and faith like he invented the words. One evening after service, he said to Tom, "Tom, you're working too hard for too little. Let me help you make that money work for you." I remember the spark in Tom's tired eyes. Hope. That's what I saw. At first I hesitated. I didn't know much about investing, but I knew enough to be careful. Still, everyone trusted Paul. The pastor trusted him. Our neighbors did too, and eventually, so did we. We invested almost everything. Our savings, our plans, our dreams. Tom told me it was the smart thing to do. Paul's one of us, Maggie. He won't let us down. For a while, things looked good. Paul sent cheerful updates, colorful charts, rising numbers, and notes about steady growth. Tom felt proud, like he was finally providing something better for us. But behind that hopeful surface, cracks were forming. One evening, Tom came home pale and trembling. He had stopped by Paul's office after work, only to find it empty. The sign was gone. The lights were off. The phone number, disconnected. By the next morning, the whole town knew. Paul Simmons had taken everyone's money, our savings, our trust, our peace, and disappeared. Some families lost thousands. Others lost everything. Tom took it the hardest. He blamed himself. He stopped laughing, stopped going to church. He'd sit on the porch for hours, staring down that gravel driveway, as if waiting for Paul to come back. When I tried to comfort him, he'd just whisper, "Maggie, I was supposed to protect this family." That winter, Tom had a heart attack. He survived, but he was never the same. And something inside me broke too. Something small but vital, like a thread snapping in the dark. The months that followed were heavy, quiet, but heavy. I took extra shifts at the library, cleaned houses on weekends. Ethan delayed college. Lily stopped asking for braces. We learned to live with less, cheaper groceries, patched clothes, and cold dinners when the gas bill went unpaid. The church held fundraisers for the families who'd lost the most, but people didn't talk about Paul anymore. It was like saying his name could reopen a wound that never truly healed. Still, he was always there, in my thoughts, in my dreams. Sometimes I'd dream of him standing in our kitchen, smiling, handing Tom a check, and I'd wake up, angry at myself for dreaming of mercy. One night, I found an old envelope in Tom's drawer, Paul's last letter. It said, "You have to trust me a little longer, Tom. The market will turn. Don't lose faith." The handwriting made me sick. but I couldn't throw it away. Maybe I needed the proof that it was all real. Life went on, as it always does. Ethan found work at an auto shop. Lily graduated high school, and slowly, painfully, our home began to feel safe again. Until that day, 10 years later, when I walked into that cafe. I was visiting Ethan, who now lived in the next town over, stopped at a little cafe near the bus station to rest my legs. And there he was. Paul Simmons. Older, thinner, a bit hunched, but unmistakably him. He sat alone, stirring a cup of coffee that had probably gone cold. No gold watch on his wrist this time, no polished smile. He looked smaller. For a moment, I froze. The air felt thick. My heart pounded. Part of me wanted to turn away, to leave. Another part wanted to scream, to ask him why. But when I looked at his face, really looked, I didn't see the man who'd ruined us. I saw someone tired, someone lost, and something inside me softened. I ordered a coffee, walked over, and said quietly, "Is this seat taken?" He looked up, startled. His eyes widened, then softened. "Maggie," he said. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." I sat down. My hands trembled, but my voice didn't. Neither did I. For a while, we just sat there. The silence was heavy, but not angry. Then he began to talk. Slowly at first, then faster, as if trying to outrun his own shame. He told me he'd been caught years ago, served time for fraud, lost everything. His wife, his home, his reputation. I deserved it, he said. Every bit of it. I listened quietly, and there was peace. Strange, fragile peace, in finally hearing him admit it. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small envelope. "I kept a list of everyone I hurt," he said. "I've been trying to repay them. I can't make it right, but I can try." Inside was a check. Not much, but not nothing either. "It's not enough," he said. "But it's honest." I stared at it for a long time, then pushed it back across the table. "Keep it," I said. "You can't buy back what was broken." He looked down. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Maggie." And for the first time in 10 long years, I said the words I never thought I could. "I forgive you." There was no dramatic ending, no applause, no music swelling, just two people, with too much history, and too little left to say. When I stood to leave, he looked up one last time and whispered, "You're kinder than I deserve." I smiled faintly. Maybe, but kindness is the only thing I have left to give. And then I walked away, lighter, freer, as if I'd finally set down a weight I'd carried for far too long. That night, I told Ethan what had happened. He was quiet for a while, then asked, "You really forgave him?" I nodded. "Yes, because I didn't do it for him. I did it for us." Forgiveness didn't change what Paul had done, but it changed me. The anger had burned for so long, it had almost become part of who I was. Letting it go felt like remembering who I used to be. Sometimes life doesn't give us justice. It gives us choices. And that day, I chose peace over revenge. Thank you for listening to my story. If this emotional story touched your heart or reminded you of your own journey, please like, share, and subscribe for more calm, real-life stories like this one, because sometimes healing begins with simply being heard. Would you like me to now create the My Master Cinematic Image prompt for this exact story? Perfect for your video thumbnail, same mood as Her Voices channel. It'll visually represent Maggie meeting Paul in that cafe moment,